I remember director's like, what are you doing? I was like, it's hurting me. I'm adjusting. And he was like, well, welcome to porn. Right? I've had days where the next day I had to go to urgent care. I've had where I've been hurt. My brand is me. Lauren Phillips is my alter ego.
Hey, I'm Casey Calvert.
I'm Leanna Lovings.
I'm Corey Chase.
Hi, I'm Lauren Phillips.
Hi, I'm Bree Mills, and you're listening to the Adult Time Podcast. All right, so I want to start, drop a little ASMR like you were doing right before we rolled. That is the most unique way we've opened up the Adult Time Podcast. Welcome, Lauren Phillips.
Breathing.
Welcome. Happy to have you here.
Thank you.
It kind of goes without saying. What do you want to start with? What should we? What apart from breathing into the microphone? Where are we starting this conversation?
Oh, I don't know. Wherever you want to start, from the beginning.
Let's start from the beginning. How did you get into this crazy industry?
Crazy industry. Is it really that crazy nowadays? I actually was a mainstream dancer. I was a backup dancer for a Tina Turner impersonator for about 5 to 6 years. I worked with 2 modern companies. I was a dance teacher, internationally certified. I lived in New Jersey. I went to college, Rutgers University, as a dance major. Specifically in modern, which is now known as contemporary. And I worked my ass off for my art.
So dance.
Yes.
What is it? What is it about dance that has always been such a huge part of your life? What attracted you to dance in the first place?
For me, dance was a way to vocalize myself because when I was younger, I didn't know how to vocalize myself. And I had a lot of trauma that at that time we didn't know about trauma. And I didn't know how to use my voice like I do now. So movement, which is, if you really think about it, is the first language that's been around. That's how I did it. And taking up space and knowing my space and being able to do that and invade space and breaking from what people think, and was the way of me to get freedom for myself.
Well, and you've got such a strong voice. Like you are, I there are many things I could say about you, Lauren Phillips.
I do.
Well, yeah, but I mean, one of the things that I love the most about you is that you have such conviction. Like you are so strong, even in your softness. Mm-hmm. And so knowing that started from a place of feeling like you didn't have a voice and using physicality to build the voice that you now have is pretty remarkable. Plus you went to college for it. So you're obviously pretty good. Plus you sell out clubs now. So clearly you're doing well. So yeah, I guess, people have passions. I had a lot of hobbies and passions. I didn't necessarily pursue them. So what was it about dance? Obviously, it was important to you and your development, but it also, was sort of your first career. So
my first love.
Yeah. So what, maybe how did you get from dancing as a Tina Turner impersonator, backup dancer, into dancing at clubs and getting into the adult space?
It's funny. I was actually lead dancer because it was a band. We had musicians and Tina actually sung. So it was you and I was lead dancer, which means I had to learn all the new choreography that Tina Turner had done at her new concert. And I was responsible for rehearsals and stuff like that. And it was becoming extremely stressful. On top of dancing, I had a full-time job, which I was a nanny, doing 60 hours a week with 4 kids. And so that was stressful. And one of my fellow dancers that was also a backup dancer, but we were 2-3 years apart. So I was her dance teacher as well. So when she was going to dance, I was like, yeah, well, you should join me. And I told her, I was like, I'm losing the love of my art. It's starting to feel stressful and like a job, and I didn't want that to happen. And she was like, Lauren, you'd be great as an adult star. And I was like, oh.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. I never considered myself as a fantasy. I didn't have that type of confidence yet. And I don't know, it was just me. And I was just trying to survive. I didn't know who I was yet. I was, my mid-20s trying to survive. And so I Googled, how do I get into it? And I found out about the swinging community. I found certain areas where a film was shot. And I had to figure out if I could be intimate in front of people. That was the main thing, right? Because it was more than one people usually when you're shooting. So I went to a club in Atlantic City by myself.
In Atlantic City.
In Atlantic City.
Well, I've got some stories about Atlantic City. None of them are good.
Well, I'm an only child, so I'm so used to doing stuff by myself. Yeah. And when I want to do something, I just do it. So I went to Atlantic City. I went by myself. I don't know if I can mention the club. I don't know if they're still around either. But they were really nice to me. And they knew I was by myself, and they took care of me. I didn't know any of the terms. I found out I was a unicorn. And that night they had the little like glow in the dark wristbands of what was your fetish? I didn't even know what a fetish was. I was so like, okay. And they were like, they watched out for me. They said, if you say no and anyone pushes your boundaries, you let us know. They were very caring. And I ended up ended up intimate with 3 couples that night. And if you've never been to a swinging club, it's not like they do have private rooms if you want it, but most of the time it's open and people want to watch. So you have a group of people. It's not just like a few, it's a group. Obviously they respect that they don't touch and stuff unless they have your consent. So I was like, oh, I can do this easy. Then I stayed until like 4 a.m. in the morning. They walked me to my car, and I had already decided that I was going to be moving to Florida where I would start my career. And actually on New Year's Day of 2013, I packed up my car and drove the 16 hours by myself, not knowing where I was going to live, to start this journey.
And here you are.
Yeah.
Here you are. So I have a question I've got a few questions.
Yeah, ask away.
To pick apart from here. Okay.
Open book.
So the friend who suggested you should be an adult star. Mm-hmm. Why do you think, or maybe you found out, why did they think you would be perfect for sex work?
Well, she knew me very well. I actually still talk to her to this day. We're still friends. But I always been open sexually. Everyone came to me because there was no judgment. I believe that society judges us enough, and I didn't want to be one of those people that judge people. And it's just how I've always been. So people always felt comfortable coming to me, and we would talk about it. I did sell toys at one point, so that was another thing. But it was the open communication I had with people and that's what everyone loved. So like she kind of just knew that about me because I've always been open sexually. Even if I didn't know like anything about sexual, like what fetish, my orientation, like I was still learning. Where I'm from, it's a very small town. I remember my friend, a close friend of mine, coming out that she was, she thought she was bi, and she was very scared. And I was like, oh, it's cool. So that's how I've always thought, like, you just accept people for who they are. And I don't want to put stress on people. So I just feel like at the time, I didn't know what a safe space was. Now I do. And that's what I like to be, someone's safe space, because we don't have that a lot.
You were also apparently a unicorn. What is a unicorn? For those who may not know.
In the swinging community, a unicorn is a single female, and they call it a unicorn because it's very rare.
And the 3 couples that night had a good time with the unicorn.
Oh, I had a great time.
I'm nervous.
What the fuck are you nervous about?
I mean, we haven't seen each other since we all went off to college to begin with. What if they don't even like me anymore?
Spin around. Are you trying to impress someone?
You look great.
Hi. This is
my girlfriend. I hope you don't mind if she crashes your party.
We're gonna relive high school. Let's relive high school.
Oh my god. I think we're one sleeping bag short.
She'll be fine.
Will she though?
It's because you did everything you could to make her feel excluded.
So did you.
Okay, but the difference is I'm gonna make it up to her.
So I'm leaving because you don't want Morgan thinking I'm your girlfriend?
I just don't want to confuse them.
I don't want them thinking I'm your girlfriend either.
Look at you. You came back from college hot.
And did you have this like because like you said, you showed up, you didn't know necessarily what to expect. You were welcomed with the same openness and kindness that you yourself have, but it was like obviously a totally like in the deep end experience. Mm-hmm. What was going through your head like when you were, in the thick of it? Did it just sort of click that this was, you enjoyed it, or what was kind of going through your brain?
While I was being intimate, or while I just entered a club?
While you entered a club and were intimate, like with a lot of people watching, right? Like, had you done that before? That was really a first experience.
Yeah, it's first experience. Like I've done like public stuff, so I was very open sexually. Like I definitely did where we call fetishes and kinks was just normal sex for me. So I always loved like rough stuff. I loved BDSM. I remember in my early 20s being with an ex-boyfriend of mine where we would leave marks on each other, like scratching to the point that you were bleeding. Like that has always been part of my life and my development. For me, it was, this is what I like. It's normal. So there was no, oh, this is a fetish and this is a kink. There was no label for me at that time. I didn't need labels. So when I went there, I was like taking everything in because I'm just I'm by myself. And they had like a little I don't think there was, I think it was BYOB because usually that's the thing when it comes to swinging. But they had like a little dance area and they had little booths on the side that you could just kind of sit and relax. And then you walked in and you had that. And then there was a room, there was a locker room. They had a whole BDSM room. And then you walked upstairs and there was all these couches and stuff like that. And it was, I don't know kind of what I felt. I was like, all right, I needed a change. And I just kind of went into it. Yeah. And I remember the first couple that I was intimate with, and which was an older lady and a younger guy. And they were so nice. They were so gentle. And she was more of a cuck than anything. And it was fun. I don't know. And when I was in it, I really didn't notice that there was any people around. So... yeah.
But it inspired you enough to pick up everything, drive 16 hours, and start your career within shooting adult content.
Anything that could fit in my car came with me, and that was it. In my Pontiac, that was what I drove. That was it.
So what? I'm always curious about people's first kind of impressions of the industry and like that kind of first year, because so many people don't. They come in, they shoot a few scenes, and then they're gone, right? Sort of like that first year is the make or break. So what surprised you about the industry that maybe you weren't expecting? And what was some of the biggest lessons you learned from those first couple of years?
So my first shooting ever for FilmWise, I was really great. I had a really great, my male talent was great. The director was great. I can't name any companies, but it was a great experience. And I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I had talked with an agent. I was not on their roster yet, but we were trying to see what we were going to do. And it was amazing. I didn't know how to douche. I didn't know what that was. So I had to figure it out. But they basically, my male talent was great. He was so nice. He put me in positions and guided me, and it was great. And then, so I had a great experience. My second, which was an anal scene. I did not get my anal rate for that. And I didn't know anything about anal prep either. but I was fine. And that was great. And I had a great time. My third shoot was probably my rough shoots and actually wasn't released. And except for the photo was released, but the actual film was not. I was a trophy wife at the age of 25, and which is basically a MILF.
Yeah, you entered MILF status.
And it was my first time. We were in a public setting, and I had an ad lib, and I didn't know exactly what to do. The first time I messed up, and I was like, okay. Second time, my male talent just continuously continue to mess up. He didn't really like me too much. He didn't like that they put me in heels. I was taller than him, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, whatever. So we get to go down, get to like the nitty gritty. And I had ended up bruising my butt from sitting on a metal chair for so long doing this ad lib because I'm fair skinned and I'm new. So don't think about that. Right. So we had to hide. He had to adjust his hand to my butt so that we would block it. And then I'm trying to adjust my shin because I'm on the bed frame and it's pushing and I'm trying to adjust it. And the director's like, what are you doing? I was like, it's hurting me. I'm adjusting. And he was like, well, welcome to porn. And I was like, okay. And then that scene never got released. And I was like, yeah, welcome to porn.
Welcome to porn.
But I've had my other 10, everything was fine. I've had so many letdowns. It's hilarious. I had one agent tell me I ruined my career, that certain body types were in and my body type wasn't. And then I did have another agent. So when I did my videos, there's 40,000 girls. How am I going to stand out? So I started camming because camming was not blended yet. Sorry. So when we did AVN, it was all adult stars, right? So there was nothing like that. And I was like, well, I'm going to start camming and I'll build my fan base up. So when people start shooting me, people are already watching. That's what they want. Right. I've already built that base. They already know that. And not a lot of people were doing it.
Yeah. Sort of like when everything was very segregated.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. As you were saying.
So I did that. And I remember going back to the one agent that helped me get my bookings before. And I was like, oh, I want to shoot a little bit more. It's amateur pro. And every time I see him, I always laugh about this. He was like, well, Lauren, that's what porn does. They use you and then spit you out. Because he couldn't book me, right? And I see him today, and I'm like, hey, I love it. I've had a lot of people put me down, but it was just, I know who I am, I know what I want, and it's not that they can't book me; it's they can't do their job. You should, as an agent, you are a salesman, and you're selling, this brand. And for all those little letdowns of, oh, you ruined your career, no one's going to shoot you, blah, 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 and this and that, I was like, yeah, whatever. But that's kind of how I got into it. So I canned for 2.5 years. 2015, I wanted to move to LA. And I basically packed up my stuff in boxes. So I flew here, or whatever could fit in my luggage, and I shipped everything else.
That sounds like me. I did the same thing.
And after 3 months, I was like, oh, I'm going to stay here. And I shipped my car after that. And at that time, it was all networking. You had to go to parties. I was self-booking at the time, so I did not have an agent. I didn't need an agent. And I just did my thing. At that time, though, companies would only book you with an agent. Like adult time wasn't even around yet.
It was, yeah, exactly.
No.
It was Girlsway. I probably wasn't even, it was maybe just the baby days of Girlsway for sure.
No, some companies would not book you without an agent. Mm-hmm. So 2016, I had talked to Next Level, which is my current agency. And at first I was like, no, And then when I was ready, I went to AVN and I was like, I want a meeting. And that's kind of how it went down.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. So, and I've been with them for like 8 years now.
It's interesting because, you know, you're talking about your experiences in those first few years, like the 2013 through 2016, 2017, right? And the rules of porn production at the time, right? Like, you know, you need an agent or you know, you won't get booked if you're XYZ. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I mean, that's the era that I started producing as well, right? So I kind of came into the same universe that you came into at the same time. And it was very much like underwritten by these rules that were rules because everybody did them. But, you know, it's so refreshing to see over the last 5-6 years. And of course, you know, shifts in, you know, our culture, shifts with the pandemic, shifts with, you know, just our business have all, you know, accelerated this. But it's so refreshing that those unwritten rules have all kind of proven themselves to be pretty invisible and not actually tangible, right?
Yeah, it was like at that time we didn't do consent videos. I just naturally did it. I was always taught to do that. It was just nonchalant. So, but now it's like a thing. Specifically in I know in LA. Florida is a little different.
Well, actually, so that's good because this is something that people don't necessarily know, right? So within the world of you know, porn production, or let's say studio porn production, there's the LA side of it, LA and Vegas, right? That are kind of, you know, on a similar West Coast. And then there's the East Coast side of it in Florida. And we always sort of think of Florida as like the Wild West. So what are the biggest differences that you've experienced in your career between the way that things are done on the West Coast and the way that things are done on the East Coast?
Well, one of the things is, so when it comes to getting my information, but I'm also very spoiled. Adult time spoils me. I'm very spoiled.
This is because we try to be professional and we send call information at least 1 to 2 weeks in advance. And we always aim to get as much information to you as possible. So that is the minimum standard by which we're being.
But they shoot differently out there as well. So like I get my information ahead of time in LA for most of my shoots. That's just the main thing. And there's usually scripts and stuff like that. In Florida, which obviously I just came back, I get my information the night before. And there's not usually a script though. It's very on the fly. I don't even know my storyline until I get there. They don't even know the storyline until I'm out of makeup. Gonzo's really popular still. Oil is very popular there, I found out. And then as in LA, it's normal to we show each other's tests. In Florida, I specifically had a director say it is our responsibility, the directors, to see our tests and to confirm that they are legit, that we don't have to show them, which I was told by testing facility that it's actually my responsibility. It's the talent responsibility to show each other's test. And that if an adult company gets our test, they have to keep it on file for 10 years because of HIPAA laws and stuff like that. So, but that's kind of like the difference is when I was like, oh, let me see your test and I'll show you mine. They're like, we already saw, we have your test on file. We approve. The thing won't even go through until we approve it. Which is kind of different.
Okay, but I still personally would like to see my co-stars test.
Yeah, it's my responsibility as well. And they didn't not push it. It's not like, oh, you can't see it. They were just informing me that's how they do it. And also they were, my male talent, we're definitely not used to, all right, what do you like and what do you don't like? And putting it down in certain ways and being checked in and stuff like that. Consent there is, besides a video of you wanted to do this and you're doing adult film, like the check-in video, that is it. There is no consent video. There is no consent list, nothing like that. So I just do it myself. But there's also a lot of new people, and a lot of these new people probably don't even know their do's and don'ts anyway. Like I didn't at that age either. So that's kind of like the difference.
So it's interesting because, this is a segue into your role as an adult time ambassador. But I think my question to you is like, obviously within the work we do, the work that you do on any set you go to, regardless of who you're shooting with, but certainly a big part of like the work we do together is like, how can we advocate for consent? So what advice would you give to somebody who's new getting into this industry, right? Because like you said, when you walked into that swingers party, you didn't know what your fetish was. You know, when you step onto set for the first time, you don't know how you feel about every part of your body and how it's touched. So like what advice would you give for somebody thinking about entering this industry?
Wait until you turn 21. I personally think, as they're doing currently in Florida for the strip clubs, that now you have to be 21 to work at a strip club. I feel like it should be the same way in porn. I feel like if your brain isn't fully developed yet, your body's not fully developed, that you shouldn't be doing something that's very intimate. So I personally am a full advocate of they should be 21. I was 25 when I came in. So, and I still had where I couldn't, what am I gonna, who am I? So the number one thing I always say is communication. And it's so hard. It's such an easy thing to say. That's really hard to do, especially when you don't know who you are. Right? Like you're 18 years old, right? And like, I remember going to college and they said, I have to pick a major and know the rest. You're literally expected to know what you want to do for the rest of your life. It's a lot of stress and responsibility for someone that young, even though, so I personally think it's just take your time and communicate, and it's okay to say no.
And it's important to say no, right? Like, because that helps start that understanding one's boundaries.
It's so hard as a talent because you feel very stressful. And I've been there. I've been in scenes where it's like boundaries are being pushed and I have to figure out, all right, how am I going to get out of this? Like I do not want to sugarcoat the adult industry. I've had rough days. Right? I've had days where the next day I had to go to urgent care. I've had where I've been hurt. That's part of my, like, it's my job is we have, especially the extreme scenes I do, that is the risk I take. It's just like a construction worker or a boxer or a UFC fighter. You take that risk of knowing you could get hurt, and you have to be able to communicate. And there's a lot of pressure to make sure you want to get this scene done and to vocalize it properly, that you're still being heard. And that you want them to get that scene. They put this money in. It's a lot of pressure. Yeah. So coming in there as I just got done working with a 19-year-old in Miami who doesn't know herself yet. And she doesn't know how things go. And, you can only say stuff. But you can't make them listen.
No, I guess the way, because the whole question of should someone be able to shoot adult content at the age of 18 the same way that they can vote or go to war, that argument, or should it be raised to 21?
I just want to let you know the difference between fighting for our country and shooting adult film. Just our government sets you up and pays for your college. And if you work into it, you get a pension. They try to build your career. All right. Unless otherwise that I know, because obviously that's not my specialty, but I do have family that's in the military, and their government tries to take care of you as much as possible. I'm going to let you know that there is no porn pension.
No, and very true. Very true. That is very
unless
true.
adult time is going to put me in a union and I'm going to get a pension, I don't see that happening. Well, so I can create my own pension.
Yes.
I can do my own pension. I can do my own IRA. And I can do my own 401k. I can build my own investments. Yes. Individual stocks and stuff like that. But that's the difference is that, and you're kind of like, it's two different fields where one, like, even though there's a lot more people in it, in the adult industry, it's still very looked down upon as well. But they're both lifestyles and they're both choices, but one kind of tries to
They're
set you up
different
for,
choices. Yeah.
it's just a different thing.
Yeah, and that's one argument that I hear a lot on the side of like, oh well, you're of legal age, therefore you are, and you're by legal definition you are an adult at the age of 18, but are you developed enough or matured enough to take on being an independent, and having to really look at yourself as a business in order to thrive in an independent contractor, environment. When you
go to college and stuff, and let's say you're trying to get all like the loans or anything like that, you can't clear your independence until you're, I think, 21 or 22 from your parents.
Yeah. Well, and the one discussion that I was having about this, because I, very much feel conflicted on it as well, just in terms of, people that are wanting to work before the age of 20, between 18 to 21, right? And so it's like, okay, do we, not work with those people because of the principle that you're right, they really do need a few years under their belt of life experience. They probably also should have, jobs and experiences outside of the industry before they become their own independent business, because, that's an important step as well. But if we don't, somebody sort of challenged me, well, if we don't help if they're going to do it anyway, do we try to help them get on a good path so that bad actors don't end up setting them down a bad path? Do we turn them away because of that principle?
But it's not that black and white either.
But yeah.
Because what is good and what is bad?
Right.
So now we're declaring, now you're putting a principle of, it's just like being a parent. Are we going to be like, and I mean this in the best respect of, Captain Save-A-Ho, like people are going to take in what they want no matter what. We can have one situation happen, right? This even happened in the adult industry, have multiple people around, right? And all of the scenarios are going to be somewhat different because our subconscious takes in what we need, what we think takes in and what is important to us. So there's always going to be the good and the bad, the okay. There's going to be great days. There's going to be okay days. There's going to be, that was a long day. There's no of preventing that. So people are going to learn the way they want to learn. And that's just accepting that. So you can put a line of everything and try to make the best, but it's like any job. We can't say this job is normal and not act like that it's normal. Every job has good and bad times, period. And to be like, we want it to be better. Well, we want the world to be better too, right? If, we would like world peace too. So it's just, you have to just accept that people are going to have to experience what they need to experience to develop as a person for their own. And if you take that experience away from them, then they can't grow as a person, and they could be missing out on something.
Yeah, very true.
All of my experience, I have a lot of trauma, and I had to work through all of that trauma. And that's not just in the adult industry. That's from as like a child that I had to do that my folks were not informed about, because back in that time it wasn't. Does it suck that I went through it? Totally. Yeah. If I didn't have to, totally. But I wouldn't be like where I am without it. Right. So, and everything is and trauma isn't a bad word. Trauma can be certain things. Like the subconscious starts developing right out of the wound. So if someone, let's say you're like little and someone takes your toy, all of a sudden your brain automatically like, if it's mine, I have to defend it. And that's just something that's out of our control until we start acknowledging it and as we grow. So I like the way everything went. I would never change anything that I do. And I wouldn't want to take any way. There's good things to better it. But some things just sometimes they have to go. It's never going to be, it's amazing and there's no bad. There's always going to be that no matter what.
Well, that's life, right?
Yeah, they're good and bad. Yeah.
But I do like the way that by setting I think the way that you set the tone for a working relationship helps to spark the idea that is an option, right? Yeah. And like helps people to build that. Yeah, normalizing the we talked about some of those naysayers and early in your career that were trying to put you down for XYZ reason. Well, obviously it was important that you went through that because it gave you that thick skin and that drive to like say, I'm going to do it anyway. But it also, is important to look at, what ways can we help people understand that, it don't get sucked in by some of those naysayers, right?
Yeah,
and that comes from setting the tone.
Yeah, I think that's like a process. Like I want everyone to have a positive experience, but I also like, I don't want people to think that it's not a normal job and that, I have a routine that I do when I go to set and stuff like that. And I do everything that makes me in my mood, in my how I am and how I want to be seen and how I want what I bring to the table and everyone is going to have different ways of doing that.
Oh my God, I'm so nervous. I've just never done anything like this before. I've been wanting it for so long and I know it's going to be amazing in there. So just remember, whatever happens, I'm with you. I'm ready. This is so cool. Oh my God.
So now I need to know what's your routine? What do you do to set yourself up for a good day or for a day?
Well, last night, this morning, I didn't get to do it. But usually, like, I wake up in the morning, I have my coffee, I feed my kitties, make my bed. So as the mind goes, as you continue to check things off your list, it's supposed to, let out chemicals and woohoo, I got things done, checking off the list. So I make my bed. I try to get outside for a bit. I have a beautiful backyard with like hummingbirds and stuff. So I like to enjoy that for like a good 15 minutes. And then I go into my bathroom and I do all my I have very sensitive skin. So I have to do my whole skin drainage and I get ready. Usually the night before I already check my model bag. My model bag's always ready, but I've had that all kind of go. I prefer to take a shower at night. It's very soothing for me. It actually puts me to sleep. So for me, I kind of like how I go to bed and then how I get up in the morning. And I usually have at least coffee in my system at all times. Unless it's an anal day, then I do Red Bull.
Pro tip.
Just, that's my thing. And then I just, affirmations. I feel goals, what I want to represent, even if I have an off day, which is normal. A little stress maybe. I know my goal. You hire me to bring out the best in people, right? I'm an actress. That's why I have no one on my no list. I'm a solid actress because I can work with anybody and I can make anyone look good. That is what you hire me for. That is my job, is to not just make my talent look good, but to make the crew look good. To say, oh, this didn't work. Let me figure out how we can. This happened. This is, I'm never the problem. I'm always the solution. And that's how I go. But that's my mindset. Mm-hmm. So that's in my way, when I know who I'm working with, the director I'm working with, I know the crew that I'm working with now, usually because it's my family. I know, and I come in and it's like, it's coming home. It's my utopia.
So one of the things I also love about you is the fact that you are very goal driven.
Mm-hmm, yeah, big time.
Can you tell everyone the story of when you manifested for yourself that you wanted to come and be an adult time ambassador?
Oh, so I wanted to be a contract star. That was, and it was the next step for my career. And I talked to a lot of people. So my career is, I listen. Everyone has stories and experiences. And if you just listen, you can take what you want and you kind of work with it. And a lot of people gave me a lot of advice. I know Bridget B was probably one of them. She was probably one of my strongest ones that really helped me kind of figure out this is what you need. And I needed to know what kind of company, who did I want to go to? And Adult Time had always been faithful to me. And I knew that their audience, you guys audience loved me. And so I told my agents, I was like, I want to reach out to Adult Time to be a contract star. You guys, you guys didn't have any of that yet. Besides, I think Gamma did, but not Adult Time directly. And I asked my agents to do so. I was like, reach out to them. And I kind of just put it out there. You're never gonna, asking is probably the most hardest thing. But the thing is, like, if I ask and you said, no, we're not ready for it, or no, we don't want that, it doesn't do anything. If I'm still in the same spot that I am. But if you say yes, then it does. So like always, it never hurts to ask.
I'm going to show my true Canadian heritage by quoting Wayne Gretzky that you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, which is so true, right?
Yeah. You have to grow. And I knew what I was looking for. I know my brand. I know how I am as a person. As I develop my career, everyone's like, how do you develop your brand? My brand is me. Lauren Phillips is my alter ego, right? Lauren is me and Lauren Phillips is my alter ego. So it is a part of me, right? She's a little bit more extreme, but when I go home, I'm Lauren but I have to be me to be her. So I know who my brand expands where I want it to go and what my beliefs are. Like with hashtag spread the love party, I developed that. That was my idea. We were all blaming people when we lost somebody who was so dear to me. And I didn't want us to blame. So I raised awareness and we raised money instead to come as a community and say, we all make mistakes and everyone says things, but let's not dwell on it. Let's move forward. And so for that, and as, woman empowerment, I'm a very big advocate for that. Knowing the development of, people forget that women were owned. We were owned. And we were property by our fathers, our brothers, our husbands. And we couldn't work. We weren't allowed to work. And I like to cherish that my ancestors, my family fought for those rights, for us to be here, for me to do this. And my even with my grandfather, who was poverty, right? Worked the farms. We had 6 kids and they had to do it. I am where I'm at because they fought for me to be here. And it's an amazing thing that I get to be like, I'm here and and they can be proud of me. So for me, it's just who I am. This is, I want to be positive. I want to change the world. I want to be the best person I can be. Obviously I'm human.
Although I sometimes think you're superhuman, Lauren Phillips.
So who or what are you running away from?
It was a bad situation. We don't want to talk about it.
I don't like this situation, and I don't like her. This was supposed to be our special night.
I'm out of here. You can deal with them yourself.
Wait, where are you going? You brought them here. Don't leave me here with those freaks.
Pretty sure he's gone.
Yeah, but for how long?
Long enough.
I don't like it. Something's not right here.
Do you remember what almost happened last time?
I don't want to stay here any longer than you have to.
Well, then let's find out where they keep their money and get out of here.
There's life is so beautiful. And people are so beautiful and they enter in our worlds and we forget to take a moment to be like, they're meant to be in our worlds for a reason. So I was meant to be here. Everything I went through, put me here and I was meant to be in this space. And everyone that comes in it inspires me, motivates me, gives me advice. And it's, I like to cherish it. I don't know.
Well, and you inspired that you coming to us when you did really inspired where we're all at now, right? Like, you know, with Adult Time and with our ambassador team, and you were the first creator of the very first kind of official ambassador series we did.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about that. So let's talk about let's talk about Switch, which is the award-winning series you created for Adult Time.
We created.
Well, listen.
You planted it. Remember, you said you went on Instagram one time and said you wanted this idea. Even though I probably didn't see it, you put it out in the universe already.
There you go.
And I grabbed it and we won.
There we go. No, but listen, I mean, that's the beauty of what we do and what I find so inspiring is, you know, I've always been somebody who, like, the greatest thrill in the world is having an idea, manifesting and having an idea and then bringing it to life, right? And so being able to do that through like my own stories and ideas and being able to help other people do that, man, like that's the best drug right there, right? So like the second you said, I'm interested in, you know, stories of, you know, switches within BDSM lifestyle and culture, I was like, bam, this Instagram post I once did about switches that ironically Casey Calvera wrote me, was like, I got to be in that. I'm like, we're going to make it happen. And then like 4 years later, we created. But yeah, tell everybody about what Switch is, your inspiration for the series. And I love the direction we're taking in season 2 in terms of the story inspiration. So tell us a little bit about that, please.
So Switch is woman empowerment. It's and I started out as it's all girl series. We had done some research on. I obviously wanted to see what the audience likes, but push the boundaries a little bit. So it is light BDSM, where a woman doesn't have to be submissive and doesn't just have to be dominant. It doesn't have to be. You can be both. And it shows. We explain BDSM, some of the terms, some power exchange, of how you can see it in an intimate relationship. And our talent actually, our first like season could kind of explore how they can be a switch. I am a switch, naturally. Even though I do get booked more dominant right now.
Noted.
Like I said, I'm all about woman empowerment, and everyone usually has like a woman as submissive or dominant. And I wanted it's that you didn't have to choose, as we are now with all these labels, and you can be certain things. Like I didn't want to have to choose. I want to just be a switch, and you can kind of go back and forth. And I love BDSM. BDSM is therapy for me. It's very therapeutic. It's how I got through a lot of my experiences. And with season 2 that we're doing, it is life experiences that I've had. So as we did the first season, it was kind of explaining light BDSM and kind of introducing, having this more fantasy type and intertwine with it, where now season 2 kind of introduces how you can be in certain relationships and how you can develop it into it.
And all stories are
real
dramatizations, interpretations of your own memories.
Yeah. So I didn't know I was attracted to girls until my like mid-20s, more when I got into the adult world. So most of most of my main character were guys, but it's still the same thing. It's still the same experience I had. I remember telling my friend that I went to college with, hey, so I took our experience and made a film out of it, and he was like, holy shit. So there's it's based on a true story.
And how did it feel to see your work be recognized, your work as a writer and a director and a creator, to see that side of your career be recognized at this past
Oh my fucking God. I was so astonished as here when my series won. It was funny because Casey was like catty corner to me of when we were there. And I jumped up in the air and she was like reaching to me, and I was like, because everything fell. I don't know how to explain it. It all kind of fell into place. I wanted to be a contract star. I wanted to be with Adult Time. I put it out there. Adult Time came to me and said, this is what we want to offer. And then let's add the directing. And literally, when I first started my career, I said in 10 years, I wanted to start directing. It was 10 years when I started with Adult Time to start, and we added the directing. It just all fell into place naturally. So it was, I don't know. There is no word for how everything went. It just went. It was great. I can't say anything. It's just, thank you, universe. I don't know. Manifestation's awesome. Dream boards. Whoop, whoop.
Dream boards. Shout out to all the dream boards.
Ambitious. I've always been over ambitious. I'm a Sagittarius. I'm fire. I've always been so ambitious of doing things. So that it just kind of took over. So it's amazing. I'm so glad.
So, and you also took another pretty big award home this past year.
Yes.
Which was?
I am MILF Performer of the Year for XBIZ of 2024.
So how did that feel? And I guess that's a good segue into my next question, which is, obviously you've been performing now within your career for, 2000, over 10 years, right?
It's 11 years.
11
now.
years.
Mm-hmm.
You're now both an accomplished performer and are embarking on directing and starting to get recognized for your work there. So how does it feel to be at this point in your career? And then how much, what do you see the future? How much longer do you see performing versus doing other stuff?
The future's already planned out.
What is the future? Lauren Phillips, what is the future?
Adult Time doesn't even know the plans I have. So the first question, I was amazed when I got MILF Performer of the Year. I literally was packing up my stuff. I was texting my friend because I was getting a ride home, and I was like, I'm leaving after this category. I'm like, it's going to be another year. I was like, I worked my ass off, and I was like, all right, it's fine, whatever. And as I'm packing my stuff, they say my name, and I literally turn. It's funny. The video that you can literally see the shot, and I could not breathe. All I had in my head was my PR, Erica, the Rub PR, in my head saying, thank people. And I was just listing the people to thank. So I was like, as long as I thank people, I'm good. Even my community, I can thank my community. So it was, I actually remember they take your picture with the award, and I was like, I have to go outside because I can't breathe. And they're like, we'll come back after this, and blah, blah. And I was like, great. So I was a shock. I was so shocked. Because I was like, oh my God. And everyone cheered, and I know everybody. And it's just like, I was like, fuck yes. So, but it was breathtaking, I guess is the word, breathtaking. And for everything that's happened for Switch to be noticed, nominated was great, but to win, I'm now, it feels good to be an award-winning performer and director. And I was like, oh my God. And in my mind, I'm like, all right, what's I'm gonna do next? As everyone else is like, enjoy this one. I'm like, what am I doing next? How do I go? For me, the next step, the adult world has 19 more years left, and then I'm going to retire. So I'm retiring at 55, most likely be behind the camera or higher up on Adult Time.
Oh, boy. You could have, my job. There'll be a vacancy at some point.
I want to blend the worlds of the adult industry. So I would take the companies that are with me, supporting me, and venture into, obviously, the feature community as well, which I'm currently doing this year, as showing more of my presence, as they are currently not as into woman empowerment. So being a woman and showing the empowerment that comes to it is still working on that. But
trailblazing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that the companies that are connected to me I'm going to bring them with me. And I'm hoping that we can open up to merge the adult industry and have a company that is in the adult industry. My dream goal to start out would be contracted in all forms of the adult industry. So that means film industry, feature. So I'd be contracted to a club and then contracted to a camming site and then have some type of sponsorship with the fetish community. That would be my goal. And then it just breaks off into ownership. So at one point, I do want to own my own strip club, which will be, as my knowledge, I don't know any adult star that has a strip club.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be nice to venture into that, which will be a feature club, which will also, as feature, there's 2 titles. There's Showgirls and Adult Stars, and it will be equally Showgirls and Adult Stars, alternating every week. And if I could, I would probably like to have at least 10 clubs, and that's how I would probably retire. And then probably just direct after that and call it a day. And then
that would be the empire.
That would be LP Empire.
Yeah, LP Empire.
Yeah, well, I'll have the Adult Time logo with the LP hooked to it.
There you go. Well, can I have a job in that empire? If you need anybody that can like
I
help
will
clean
never,
the clubs at the end of it, you let me know.
No, you're part of my family. You'll come with me no matter what.
Well,
consent is sexy.
Consent is sexy. All right. Well, on that note, I have some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
We've had deep talks, and now we're gonna have what I can only.
What kind of talk did I get into today?
The exact kind of talk that I knew we were gonna have, which was genuine, real, interesting, and probably longer than my team wants. But we're here. So rapid fire questions.
I'm gonna try my best. I'm a little tired today.
It's okay. Now, my first question for you: blowjobs or hand jobs?
Blowjobs.
Why?
I like them. They're more fun for me. And remember, guys, they develop that, unless it's a girl, it's a different muscle. I feel like if I'm, trying to get the G, and I'm still trying to find a G spot, that's like really hard. But when it comes to guys, I didn't develop that muscle. I haven't been doing that since there. So it's really, you alternate hands and stuff like that. I'd rather do oral than anything.
Well, I know this is coming from my very on the lesbian end of the spectrum experience, but I would assume with oral, you also can incorporate the hands.
Yeah.
Whereas with a hand job, you're just, flexing the wrist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like you need kind of both. I don't know. I personally, I like having both. I love being able to do both. Just having a hand job or trying, it's just, I don't know. It's a stimulation.
Does size matter?
No. No.
And what made you pause?
Because I have a size preference. That doesn't mean it matters. Someone could blow me away and I'd be like, holy shit. Prove me wrong.
So you're remaining open-minded, but what is your size preference?
5 inches is my minimum. And then my maximum is 7 or 8. Once it goes past 8, it's painful. I don't like to be... I don't want to say I don't like. You can tap at my cervix every once in a while, but I don't like. I've been bruised on my cervix, so bottoming out on me it can really hurt.
What is the best time of day to have sex, Lauren Phillips?
Morning, lunch, and dinner. It's like meals.
You just need a steady diet.
I prefer morning and nights.
Okay, and now why? Because this is going from someone who falls asleep at 8 o'clock. So I'm sorry to my wife.
Because I feel like it's a good way to start your day and it's a good way to end your day.
Yeah, that's a good explanation. What's your favorite role play scenario?
As my fetish and my kink?
Yeah.
I'm very into daddy, and I love to become inside. That's Lauren feels that is my kink. So my like I told you, it's my alter ego. But I do like to be filled up.
Do you watch your own scenes?
No. I have I'm very insecure about myself.
But do you watch porn at this? No.
Not anymore.
And why?
I know everybody now. And then because I've now So when I go and I'm a talent or a director, or the angles and the lighting gets in. So even like, you know, when I was on set the other day, it's like, oh, I'm going to put this person in this. Is where do you want me to angle them? And then so when I see the film, I'm like, oh, they use that angle. Oh man, they could have done better. And it's just now a process. I prefer reading. Read like erotic literature instead, because I like dirty talk. And no one dirty talks anymore. And it's not that I watched the 80s porno talk dirty to me and talk dirty to me too. So that was my getting off, with the guy dirty talked. So, but they don't do that anymore.
They just don't do it enough. All right, my last question for you. Do you know your body count?
Do I know it? It's a lot, period. Probably more than, yeah. I've been a sex worker for a very long time. So, yeah.
So it's probably
a lot.
It's probably a good solid number.
Yeah.
A good solid number. All right, Lauren Phillips. We got to have one more. We have to have one more. Okay, here we go.
So I don't know what to do.
I'm looking at my list here. Okay, so
as she falls asleep on me.
As I fall asleep. No, I told you that was how this was going to end. I don't have my glasses on, Lauren Phillips. Quickie or a marathon in real life?
I guess I'll say quickie. It just depends. It depends on a person, how much I like you. It just depends. Like I like a quickie in the morning, and at night I like a little bit longer. It just depends on my day. If I was just on set for 12 hours getting pounded, yeah, I don't want a marathon. I want a quickie. Like my body is tired. But if I like have a dialogue day, maybe go, oh my God, yeah, I can totally do it.
So it's really dependent on what type of scene.
Yeah, what type of day? What type of day? How about that?
All right, I love it. Okay, all right, I just wrapped a conversation with one of my favorite people in the adult industry, the iconic Lauren Phillips. It was amazing. From her humble beginnings to learning to communicate and develop her own voice through her body and through dance, bringing that into her career as an adult performer, as a featured dancer, as a tycoon. I learned a lot, as I always do, from getting a chance to talk to Lauren. If you enjoyed the conversation, if you want to watch Switch, her award-winning original series for adult time, please go ahead, give us all a follow. You can also like, you can comment, you can subscribe to this channel. We always appreciate your support. It allows us to keep promoting these important conversations. And we'll see you next week. Thank you.